Alright, fellow Cummins owners out there, I promised a while back that I would get this to you, and I'm going to do my best here. Wanted to take a second and talk to you about what it takes to port a 12-valve cylinder head. In particular, this video is about the tools that we've used and that we've found that are necessary for porting a Cummins cylinder head. We specifically have been focusing on 12-valve cylinder heads, which are probably a little bit easier since they're larger than the 24 valves, and there's less of them, but needless, I think the same basic principles apply. And I'm going to go over the tools, and then in a later time I'll come back and actually show you the tools and where we use them and we found them to be the most useful. This over here is an old gasket that we took off of one of the trucks. We use this gasket to give us the port match. So this is what allows us to have the same size, roughly, on the exhaust port and on the cylinder head side of the exhaust port. So on the exhaust manifold and the cylinder side. So that comes in very handy. You can see that it's blue because of this beautiful stuff right here. We used layout fluid. We got this off of Amazon or eBay, one of the two. Got a big bottle of it because we didn't want to run out. We were doing lots of cylinder heads. So we take two bolts that are just factory exhaust manifold bolts. We bolt this up to the cylinder head, and then that we use our layout fluid on top of that. It stains it a nice dark blue. You can get pink. I do think the pink probably would have been a little better than the blue, but the blue really didn't give us any trouble, so no complaints really there. Do this in a location, like you can see that we're out here on an old workbench. Do it in a spot that you don't mind getting steel chunks everywhere. It makes a huge mess. Don't go in the house and wash your hands off over your wife's nice china or anything, because it will rust. The little metal flakes get all in your hands, all in your hair, everywhere. Use safety goggles and a respirator. I know that doesn't sound very macho. I'm not that kind of guy usually, but after doing this for a couple weeks, you find out that that fine metal shaving dust gets everywhere. It gets in your nose, in your lung. You're hacking the stuff up for days. So be smart. Keep it out of your eyes and keep it out of your lungs, because you will pay the price for that one in a couple of years, I'm sure. So one of the next tools, this one came along a little later, but this is a round, kind of a bullnose burr. I'm not a machinist, so my terminology may not be right. We ordered it online. I think it was about $20 for a crosscut carbide burr. And it is awesome because it's larger and it helps make your ports more uniform. So that guy there is really helpful. It'd be one of the first things I bought. One of the other things I bought in bulk, and I'll just show you here, I bought in bulk a huge, and this is what it came in, a huge thing of sanding stones. I bought it in bulk because the first couple times we went to Harbor Freight and we burned through all of them in like no time flat. Now, mostly the ones that Harbor Freight we got were white, and the white seemed to go a lot faster than the pink or the gray color. So what will go down here, this is a larger one. I believe this is about a 1-inch, kind of a bullnose again, like that. This is great for doing finishing work and making sure your bowl size and your port size are all roughly the same. This is awesome at taking out imperfections that might be caused by a smaller tool, like something like this. These straight-sided carbide burrs are great for doing the port work, cutting around, getting the meat out around the exhaust, and then you can come in and take something, more that's got a little bit of a bevel to smooth the transition into the runner. Here's a white round nose burr. I'm sorry guys, not a burr, obviously. A white sanding stone. They work great. They have a finer grit to them that you can't see right now, but that finer grit really allows them to finish off nicely. And if you have a huge bag of them, you can be pretty liberal with those guys and finish off a port pretty nicely. You can get it almost to sandpaper quality with that. Just a couple difference. You can see this one's been used a little bit. You can use these kind of to smooth the transitions and whatnot. We didn't use as many of those because we found that we did most of our work using, some kind of a carbide, and then we smoothed it off pretty quickly using one of these larger burrs here or something like that. So after you get through with those basic ones, we have just simple sanding kind of drums. Different shapes, different sizes. They come, some are real short. They're only about that. It's about 1/2 inch. Probably the perspective isn't great here. About 1/2 inch. And we probably could have used them a little bit larger, a little thicker in diameter. If they had like a 3/4, that would have been nice because we wouldn't have gone through so many of them. Those are great. That's what we got our end polishing with. And a runner, you can look at my other video to kind of see what those runners look like after you get done sanding them. We didn't find any need to go with anything smoother than that, because when you get that turning at 13 or 14,000 RPMs or whatever it is coming off of this die grinder, it really is a really smooth finish. This is something I'm sad that out here in Georgia it rains a lot, and unfortunately we packed all this stuff up and moved it into a spot where it got rained on. This is a long-nosed, kind of rounded burr carbide crosscut, and this is awesome for getting down in the port and working the transitions to try to get it smoothed off in there. Again, this is just to give you an idea of the tools, so if you're going on a buying spree in preparation for this, you can kind of see what it looks like. It's about 6 inches long, nose to tail here, and it is really worthwhile having one of these. I don't think we could have done it with anything else. You could have used an extension, but it's really nice to know that it's solid all the way through and that you can kind of put some lateral pressure on it in order to get some of those spots and smooth the transitions. Super helpful. These have done 4 cylinder heads, and they're not crazy sharp, but they're still fairly sharp. You will see, I don't know if we can get it to focus in there. It's probably a little out of its focal depth, but you get chunks and nicks and cracks and chips out of them. It's just part of the process of chewing through that much cast iron. And it is a lot of cast iron that you're going to be taking off. These are some different things. This is a different type of a step, kind of a larger screw style that we got. What we found is as you're using these sanding drums, what happens here is they get loose. The more you use them and wear them down, they get loose, so you often have 2 die grinders or even 3 die grinders, and what you do, sorry about that shake there, what you do is you use something larger like this to captivate it and then go in. It doesn't work really well with a fresh one because the hole isn't worn out enough on the sanding drum to get it to screw on tight enough. One of the other things, you can see we had a little setup here where we had a bunch of, we just got them for about $40 on eBay, a new set. These guys never even came out of there because they didn't have shapes that we liked all that much. One of the other things that I did want to show you though was let's see if I can find one. Excellent. This allows you to use regular, like 1-inch wide sand tape. This is about 4 inches long. We have one that's 6 inches long. We have one that's 2 inches long for helping to finish. It's nice because you can wrap up a big 1-inch or 3/4 inch stretch of that sanding tape, and you can go to town on it. And if you wanted to get it mirror finished, you could use emery cloth in that slotted mandrel and be able to get in there and really finish it out. We didn't find that there was a need for that. We've tried lots of other different setups, in terms of what to use. Obviously, an air chuck is really good to blow stuff out as you're working along there. This is another type. It's got a long snout to go inside of that sanding drum to give you more stability as you're pushing. One of the things, buy a couple of these, because what we found is right where the threads end there, it's going to break. And it didn't break. I'm sorry guys, I know it's rusty, but it did not break because of the rust. These were brand new when we got them. And after, I don't know, half a cylinder head, they're going to break right about there. An air chuck, like I said, we bought a lot of, like, I don't know if you can see this, a lot of like little wire wheels and stuff. Pretty much worthless. Not worth buying and spending time on there. Your sanding drums and everything do a way better job in taking care of that. I'll pull up. Here we go. We just bought them in bulk. You can see here's another one. And I'll show you what I was talking about because this one's already broken here. If I can get it off one-handed. Nope. Let's see there. Yeah, there it goes. So there's a sanding drum. This one had a long snout on it, and it broke right at the nose, just like that other one will after enough use. We used all 1/4 inch stuff. Originally, we bought a lot of 1/8 inch drive stuff, and it's just not heavy enough duty. You can't take out enough material with an 1/8 inch before it bends on you to make it worth your while. Again, we bought online just a huge quantity of different sanding drums and whatnot, and you burn through a lot of them because the quality on them, when you're spinning them, if you overspin them, they just start to come apart at the glue joints there. So if you have a regulator, regulate your speeds down. The faster you go with some of these things, and we have like 3 or 4 die grinders so that we could just switch out the chuck and go to the tool that we wanted. These were obviously bought from like Harbor Freight, Northern Tool, and we have used the hound out of them. Hours. We're talking like probably 50 to 100 hours of porting work, and they still function. I know a lot of guys will say, don't buy crap, but if you're trying to do it on a budget, here it is. We've done it, we've run them, we haven't oiled them, and they're still going strong. So I would not hesitate to tell you, if you want a cheap die grinder, go ahead and hook it up with one of like the $13, $14, $17 ones from Harbor Freight or Northern Tool or something. These guys will overspin these tools. You actually, and I may hook one up just so you can see it in action on a different video as we diagram what and where to do all the porting work. These guys work really well at a lower speed. The faster you go, the more damage you can do. You don't want to do that. Keep it slow and keep it steady. So there's a good look at the kind of tools. Over 4 Cummins cylinder heads that we've amassed. We've thrown out a lot of junk. There's a lot of stuff that we have an entire bin of over here that we just don't use on either side because it's not worth it. These are the main tools you want. And I'm going to go back, recap. Obviously, die grinder, the blue, the layout fluid, an old, exhaust gasket, and this puppy right here is worth its weight in gold. It helps keep everything between that and a nice, gentle, round-nosed burr. It could be a little bit more dramatic of a curve than that. Something to help you smooth the transition that will do long work, cleaning out a long material, versus this one is obviously biting, in pretty much one spot, unless you're doing the bottom of the bulwark. So those guys there, and then for finish work, this is absolutely paramount. It's huge, it's round, and it'll keep that port. You can use a snap gauge and just take care of any issues that you might find inside that port. So those guys are absolutely invaluable. Then you come along with one of these sanding drums and you just polish it up. It looks fantastic. I don't know if that was helpful, but I hope that this goes out there and helps somebody that might be struggling with this. That's what we're here for. You guys have a great day and good luck out there, Cummins owners.